We at the Dome appreciate you listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share, subscribe, and like. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to News from the Dome. I'm your host, Zip Osborne, coming to you live from Her Majesty's ship, Nadia. It has been a day full of excitement, and thanks to our guests, I can tell you all about it. Nadia's crew have managed to secure Channel 14 so that we cannot be disrupted. My new friend, ship's engineer, Finch, has also upgraded Elka's and my rings so that we can broadcast from anywhere and it will come to you over this channel. Tonight's stories come to you from a pirate's perspective. First, Elka and I are given the Nickel Tour. Then, we head out on a raid that is sure to disrupt the water needs of Zorcorp and the Dome. And finally, a low-stakes encounter results in a high-stakes battle, putting the lives of the entire pirate crew at risk. So, batten down the hatches, me hearties, and join us on our adventure. The day started out with Nadia insisting Elka and I be given a tour of her ship. Our guide was the ship's engineer, Finch. Finch is a biohybrid robot. Biobot for short, flesh and circuits all bundled together. He was built by the pirates and is responsible for keeping everything in tip-top shape. We were already familiar with much of the interior, the bridge and the galley, the mismatched halls. So Finch took us outside and showed us the exterior of this hovering beast. If I thought the inside was a mismatch, the outside was a testament to utter dysfunction. The bridge looming out over the hull of the Nadia was the bridge of a Tarian starfighter. Copper-colored, sleek, and aerodynamic, starfighters are built for speed. This one had been hacked off from the rest of the fighter and welded to the Nadia. The rest of the vessel was a variety of sheets of steel in different shapes and sizes, all welded together, creating a huge metal box, sitting on two giant tank treads. These treads allowed for the vehicle to roll on the terrain when it wasn't in hover mode, tall enough that I was able to walk under the ship without ducking. Conventional machine guns mounted on swivels were on the roof and each side of this ice box. Finch told us the entire ship was built with salvaged or stolen parts. Finch architected it, and he fixes it when it breaks down. Finch was leading us up the ramp back into the ship when we crossed paths with the Queen. She stopped us and asked if we were enjoying our stay. When I said that we were, and that I was glad to have a place to broadcast from, Nadia smiled at me and told me that she was a big fan of the show. Then she glared at Elka and walked away. At breakfast, Elka and I both received an abundance of praise for our mission into the Dome. The ship's first mate, Krug, went so far as to call us brave. It turns out these pirates aren't such a bad lot. Elka isn't impressed, though. She's fairly dismissive of them. All she wants to talk about is the missing skags, the hover train explosion, the violence at the Dome. Now I know this is all very important, and that we must get to the bottom of it. But what's the rush? We were almost killed. I think we've earned a little time off. It wasn't long after breakfast that Elka and I found ourselves lying on our bellies, looking over the edge of a cliff into a deep ravine. We had been invited to tag along on a pirate raid. Sharing our perch with us was another pirate. I can't pronounce his name, but Elka and I have nicknamed him Jello. He is sort of a blob of what looks like cherry jello. I'm sure he's the same species as old Jelly Joe from the Zorcorp mines, just younger. And where Jello is cherry red, Jelly Joe is purple grape. Jello's entire body jiggles when he moves, and it's hard to see his eyes or mouth, as they're hidden by a huge gelatinous set of cheeks. Across from us on the other side of the ravine, Several more pirates were looking over the cliff. Then I see our target, a caravan of perhaps a dozen hovering storage tanks gliding along the narrow canyon floor. Guards on warbeasts rode alongside. The road we were looking down on is one of only a few that connect the lowlands with the Zorcorp mining facility. Bringing water into Zorcorp often requires traversing these canyons. The caravan is right under our noses when Jello presses a button on a little black box he's holding. A loud explosion pierces my ears, and I watch as rocks and dust blast out from the cliff walls. Then the entire ravine disappears under a cloud of thick dust that billows past us into the sky. When the dust clears, I see the path in front of the caravan has been completely blocked by boulders. The guards have their weapons at the ready, but are unable to maneuver due to the narrow path. Half a dozen pirates, including First Mate Krug, step out from their hiding places on the canyon floor and come face to face with the caravan. As soon as the guards level their guns at the pirates, Krug points up, and the guards bring their attention to the pirates standing up above, weapons pointed down at them. Krug then calls out and strongly suggests the guards drop their weapons. Without argument, they do just that. Now the pirates on the cliff rush off to meet the others in the ravine. Jello grabs me by the shoulder and enthusiastically urges me to follow. Elka and I get to our feet and make our way down a small path to the ambush site. When we reach the scene, the pirates have bound the guards together, their feet, arms, and waists all tied to one another. If one guard steps forward, another falls backwards, so they're forced to try to stay still. The image reminded me of a couple drunks hanging out with one another, staggering down a street. Elka and I watched as the pirates got to work detaching one half of the caravan from the other. Zoradyte isn't the only thing everyone on this planet is looking for. The search for water is a never-ending endeavor. Tarian 347 is a very arid planet. The cost of drilling is expensive, and discovery of water underground is inconsistent. So, to keep up with needs, professional water chasers use radar to detect the slightest precipitation. Then race to capture the rainfall. Water chasers will spend hours moving with the smallest weather system, capturing as much as their tanks will hold, then selling their bounty for a handsome profit. During the effort to detach the water tanks, one of them lost hover power and fell to the ground. There was an immediate hush as everyone, pirates and guards alike, watched and held their breath. The tank creaked and groaned as it slowly rolled to one side, then came to a rest, water still safely inside. A collective sigh of relief followed. As did Finch. Out of nowhere, the engineer was on the job, tinkering with the tank to re-engage the hover engine. He even asked me to help. It was just to hold tools, but still, I felt like part of the team. It was around that time that one of the guards began yelling at the pirates, accusing them of being no-good scoundrels and stealing water that others depend on. Well, Krug was having none of that. He hit the guard hard in the stomach with the butt of his rifle. The guard crumpled to the ground, bringing his companions with him. The guard grimaced and blood flowed from his mouth. I'm sure Krug didn't mean to hit him so hard. I think the broken tank and the tense situation just got the best of him. It didn't take long for Finch to make the needed repairs and get the water tank upright and hovering again. And once he did, Krug ordered everyone to get going. We took the tanks and released the guards to deal with the other half of the caravan. The first part of our day had ended. The next part was about to begin. It was late afternoon by the time the last of the water tanks had been hauled safely aboard Nadia's ship. Elka and I were seated on the bridge, looking out over the barren landscape in front of us as the HMS Nadia made its way toward the pirates' lair. But Nadia had one more task for the crew. She ordered the ship to change course and head for the ore fields. deciding to try her luck at finding stragglers heading back to the dome alone to rob. And, as luck would have it, a lone miner could be seen lowering herself from one of the islands as we approached. Nadia ordered the ship to stop. She leaned in toward a microphone set near her throne. Her voice echoed throughout the ship as she ordered her assault team to mount up. Then, Nadia suggested Elka come along and report on the entire event, since she was so eager to get back into the field. It wasn't the story Elka was looking for, but she reluctantly agreed. So, here she is, reporter in the field, Elka Mismon.
Yes, Zip. I was reluctant to go, and it turned out to be a dreadful experience. The ramp dropped, and the pirates, led by Nadia, took off on their hoverboards. I was also given a hoverboard and followed from the rear. When they reached the unfortunate miner, she was still midway between the island and the ground. She clung to the vine, looking back and forth between the island above her and the pirates below. I'm sure she was contemplating what to do. Finally, Nadia threatened to pluck her off the vine. The poor gal slid down to meet her fate. The pirates frisked her and came up with what looked like 5 or 6 grams of ore. To my surprise, they only took half. Then let the miner go? I asked Nadia why half. She explained to me that she considers it a tax, the price of doing business. She told me she doesn't want the miners to quit digging, otherwise how would she make a living? I suggested she do the work herself. I think that caught her off guard, because for a moment she was speechless. She frowned, then she burst out laughing, and stepped onto her hoverboard. I got the last laugh, though. As Nadia leaned forward on her board, it sputtered and hit the ground. Her highness spilled off the thing and landed right on her backside. I didn't laugh out loud, but I didn't have to. The first person she looked at was me, and boy did I have a grin on my face. Then Nadia yelled for Finch, who was there in a flash. She barked at him, insulted him, called him good for nothing. Maybe biobots don't have feelings. I sure hope so. Well, in a moment, Finch had it fixed, and we were on our way back to the ship. That's when I heard them. The distinctive pew-pew-pew sounds of laser beams, followed by chunks of ground being blasted apart, all around me. I looked over my shoulder and saw 2 attack drones closing in on us. We all leaned forward on our boards and raced toward the open ramp. The drones flew right over my head, and I watched as they approached the ship. It seemed they were going to crash right into it, when at the very last moment they veered off. One to the left, the other to the right. Machine gun fire erupted from the Nadia. I watched as the red racer round zipped past the drones. We were only yards away from the ramp when the drones made a second run at us. I could hear the zap of the lasers as I made it up the ramp. Once inside, I turned around just in time to see a laser hit its mark. Jello's body contorted and red goo splashed onto the ground as he fell from his speeding hoverboard. The others made it to safety, and I watched that pirate's lifeless body lying there in a pool of cherry jello until he disappeared behind the rising ramp. Then the ship jerked forward. I could hear the thuds of laser beams hitting the hull. The ship shook with every blast. I could also hear the roar of the machine guns fending the drones off, the rattling of thousands of spent cartridges bouncing off the ship's hull. I was sickened that a life was lost for a few measly grams of Zoradyte. I found the entire fiasco grotesque. I rushed to the bridge where I found Zip watching the events through the windshield and on several monitors. Nadia was already in her seat and ordered the shield to be raised. The HMS Nadia has a shield just like the one that protects the dome. We were quite safe, and in a few minutes both of the drones had been shot down. After that, it was full speed ahead to the pirate's lair. Back to you, Zip.
Thank you, Elka. I sure am glad you made it back safely. As for Jello, I know the entire crew is saddened by the loss of their shipmate. My final story to share with you tonight is our race to the safety of the pirate's lair. We had traveled the better part of half an hour before more attack drones tracked us down. We found ourselves engaged in a running firefight. The drones would swoop in and take shots at the shields, while we fired back trying to destroy them. We were closing in on the canyon entrance, where the secret base was and what I hoped was safety. But as we neared, Krug shouted that the shields had collapsed. Now the ship shaked with every hit from those dreadful drones. I watched as a drone headed straight for us, lasers blasting. One blasted right through the windshield, tore through a console, and scorched the floor only a few feet from where I was seated. The opening to the canyon grew larger as we closed in, only a few more seconds to safety. I watched a monitor that showed 2 attack drones closing in from behind. The ship's pilot pushed the throttle forward and we gained speed. We cleared the canyon walls and a shield went up between the cliffs. The drones hit the shield almost simultaneously, exploding and disintegrating. We were safe. A few minutes later, the ship tucked under a huge ledge and settled onto a large, shiny concrete slab. Everyone was relieved. The tense mood was immediately replaced with shouts of huzzah! Krug gave me a high five and explained to everyone on the bridge that I was going to make a great pirate. I'm still broadcasting.
Yes, I'm listening, and I can't believe my ears. Are you seriously glamorizing the life of a pirate? Do you really think these people care about you? I thought you were a news reporter, Zip. But no, you're just a narcissist who craves attention. Well, you do what you want. I'm not staying. I've got a job to do. I need answers. And I believe they're to be found on Tarian 349.
Folks, I'm sorry for the interruption. And it's not my intention to become a pirate. I think Elka and I need to talk. So until next time, good night and good luck.